I'm standing at the kitchen counter of what used to be our home, watching my wife, Jessica, arrange plates for another family dinner. Her hand keeps drifting to the delicate silver necklace at her throat, the one her sister's husband supposedly gave her as a thank you gift. She never takes it off, not even when she sleeps. At the time, I thought I was watching my wife do the most selfless thing I'd ever seen. I didn't know she was setting up the most elaborate trap of my life, one that would have locked me into 18 years of payments for a child that wasn't mine, wasn't even my sister-in-law's, and that I'd end up dragging her and her lover into court to escape. But I'm getting ahead of myself. 8 months ago, we hosted that dinner. My sister-in-law, Ashley, and her husband, Marcus, sat across from us at this same table. Ashley had been crying on and off all evening, and I didn't understand why until Jessica stood up, her hand finding Ashley's shoulder. "We have an announcement," Jessica said, her voice warm with what I thought was genuine love. "Ashley, Marcus, you know how much we love you, and we know how hard the past few years have been. Ashley had been trying to get pregnant for 3 years. 2 rounds of IVF, countless doctor visits, all that hope and disappointment. I'd watched my sister-in-law shrink a little more each time another attempt failed. So when Jessica said it, when she actually said the words, I felt this rush of pride. I'm going to be your surrogate. I'm going to carry your baby for you." Ashley's face just crumbled, but in a good way. She stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor, and she was hugging Jessica, sobbing into her shoulder. Marcus sat very still, his expression unreadable. I remember thinking he was just overwhelmed, moved beyond words. I had no idea I was watching 2 people who'd been sleeping together for 2 years, watching them execute the opening move of a plan to defraud me out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you're listening to this and you've ever had that sick feeling in your gut when something doesn't add up but everyone around you is smiling, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But at that moment, all I felt was pride. My wife was giving her sister the gift of family. "Ryan, are you okay with this?" Ashley asked, wiping her eyes. "Of course," I said, and I meant it. "Whatever you guys need." Jessica kissed my cheek. "I knew you'd understand. You're such a good man." That phrase would echo differently later. The first few weeks were busy. Jessica had doctor's appointments that I wasn't invited to. "It's a family planning clinic. They prefer to keep it just between the sisters for now," she explained. That made sense. Ashley had been through so much medical trauma. This was their journey together. Then the paperwork started arriving. Thick manila envelopes with law firm logos, surrogacy contracts, insurance riders, medical expense agreements. "You need to sign as the consenting spouse," Jessica explained one evening, sliding a stack of documents across the counter. "It's standard procedure. Basically just says you're aware of what's happening and you approve." I picked up the first document. The language was dense. Biological parent, legal guardian, financial obligations. I paused on one section that seemed odd. "This says biological parent, not intended parent," I said. "Aren't Ashley and Marcus the intended parents?" Jessica laughed, but there was an edge to it. "It's just legal jargon, honey. The lawyer is Ashley's lawyer. So obviously everything is written to protect her and Marcus. You don't need to worry about the technical language. Besides, if you want your own lawyer to review everything, that's going to add weeks to the process and cost Ashley thousands more. Is that really what you want?" The guilt landed exactly as she'd designed it to. I signed everything, page after page, and I barely read any of it because I was so focused on being supportive, on not being the difficult one, on trusting my wife. Looking back, I can see my own face in that moment, the face of every man who thought being a good husband meant never questioning anything. I can see myself reaching for the pen. I want to reach through time and slap it out of my own hand. But I didn't. I signed. Over the next few months, Jessica's pregnancy progressed exactly as you'd expect. Morning sickness, doctor's appointments, cravings. The whole neighborhood knew about it because Jessica made sure they did. Her social media was a constant stream of surrogacy journey posts, beautiful photos of her growing belly with captions about sacrifice and sisterhood. Our church community couldn't stop talking about how wonderful she was. My own mother called me one Sunday just to tell me how lucky I was to have a wife with such a big heart. Every Tuesday night, we'd have dinner at our place, or Ashley and Marcus's place. Sometimes Ashley would put her hand on Jessica's belly and cry. Marcus would sit quietly, nursing his beer. Once or twice, I caught him staring at Jessica with this intense expression, but I assumed it was gratitude, maybe even a little awe at what she was doing. I was so stupid. Little things started not adding up, but I explained them all away. Jessica and Marcus volunteered to go pick up baby supplies together. He has the truck. It's easier, she said. His truck would be at our house in the middle of the day when Jessica said she was home alone. He stopped by to grab tools. He's helping set up the nursery at their place. The necklace appeared around month 3. Marcus bought it for Ashley, but she insisted I have it as a thank you, Jessica explained. Isn't that sweet? She touched it constantly, slept in it, never took it off. And the financial setup began. Jessica opened a joint account for medical expenses, money from our savings, money from insurance, money that I assumed was going toward legitimate surrogacy costs. I'm a financial analyst. Numbers are literally my job. And I didn't question a single transfer because I trusted her. If I'm the villain in anyone else's version of this story, that's probably why. I was willfully blind. The crack came in month 7. I was going through the mail, mostly bills, nothing unusual, when I saw an envelope addressed to me personally, not to both of us, just me, from a medical clinic I'd never heard of. I opened it. It was a bill for a prenatal paternity test. I must have read it 5 times. Prenatal paternity test. A test to establish paternity before birth. Why would I need that? The baby wasn't mine. It was Ashley and Marcus's baby. Jessica was just carrying it, unless. My hand started shaking. I called the clinic from my office, keeping my voice level. Hi, I received a bill, and I think there might be an error. This is for a paternity test, but my wife is acting as a gestational surrogate for my sister-in-law. The receptionist paused. I'm sorry, sir, but we don't handle surrogacy cases. We're a standard OB/GYN practice. We only perform prenatal paternity testing for biological parents. The floor tilted. There must be some mistake. Is your wife Jessica Mitchell? Yes. Then there's no mistake. She came in 6 weeks ago and requested the test. Would you like me to transfer you to billing? I hung up. That night, when Jessica got home, I showed her the bill. I watched her face carefully. She went pale, then red, then her eyes filled with tears. Oh my God, Ryan, I'm so sorry. That's a billing error. I'll call them tomorrow and fix it. They said you came in for the test. I did, but it was because... She pressed her hand to her forehead. Okay, this is going to sound crazy, but Ashley was worried. She wanted to make sure everything was proceeding correctly with the pregnancy. So she asked me to get tested to confirm the baby's genetics were matching what they expected from the IVF. It's complicated medical stuff. I didn't want to worry you with it. That doesn't make sense. Why are you attacking me right now? Her voice cracked. I'm doing this incredible thing for my sister. I'm literally growing a human being inside my body for her, and you're interrogating me over a billing mistake. Do you have any idea how stressful this is? Do you know what you're risking here? If you keep pushing this, if you ruin this for Ashley, I will never forgive you. The guilt crashed over me again. She was pregnant. She was hormonal. She was doing something selfless, and I was being paranoid over a bill. I'm sorry, I said. You're right, I'll drop it. But I didn't drop it. Not really. That night, after Jessica fell asleep, I went into my home office and pulled out every document I'd signed. I started actually reading them. Really reading them. The contract listed me as Party A and Jessica as Party B. Ashley and Marcus appeared nowhere in the document. The financial sections outline my responsibility for all medical costs, all insurance premiums, all prenatal care. The custody section established that I would be listed as the legal father. Legal father. Not Ashley's husband, not Marcus, me. I sat there in the dark, staring at my own signature on page after page, and I realized I had no idea what I'd agreed to. The baby was due in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. And I just signed away my entire financial future to something I didn't understand. The next morning, I took the day off work. I told Jessica I had a client meeting. Instead, I drove to a law office downtown and asked to speak with a family attorney. David Park looked like he'd seen everything. Mid-50s, expensive suit, tired eyes. I laid out all the documents on his desk. My wife is carrying a baby as a surrogate for her sister, I said. I just want to make sure everything is in order. He put on his reading glasses and started going through the pages. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he took his glasses off and looked at me. Mr. Mitchell, this isn't a surrogacy contract. My stomach dropped. What? A surrogacy contract has very specific legal language. It establishes the intended parents. In your case, that would be your sister-in-law and her husband. It establishes the gestational carrier, your wife. It outlines the fact that the carrier has no parental rights or obligations. This document does none of those things. Then what is it? These documents establish you as the biological father, your wife as the mother. There's no mention of gestational carrier language anywhere. This is standard parentage paperwork. Whoever wrote this designed it to look like surrogacy paperwork to someone who wasn't paying close attention, but legally, this makes you the father, financially responsible for everything for 18 years. The room got very cold. That's not possible. The baby isn't mine. It's from IVF. Ashley and Marcus did IVF. Did you witness that process? No, but did you see medical records, transfer papers, anything documenting that an embryo created from your sister-in-law's egg and her husband's sperm was implanted in your wife? No. Jessica said the clinic preferred privacy. David leaned back in his chair. Mr. Mitchell, I've been practicing family law for 30 years. I've seen a lot of scams. This has all the hallmarks of one. Your wife gets pregnant, maybe deliberately, maybe accidentally, and needs someone to be financially responsible. Instead of telling you the truth, she frames it as surrogacy. You sign everything without reading it carefully because you think you're being supportive. By the time the baby is born, you're legally on the hook. And if you try to fight it, everyone sees you as the bad guy who's abandoning a baby. But why? Why would she do this? That's the question you need to answer. And you need to answer it in the next 6 weeks before that baby is born, and this gets much more complicated. I drove home in a daze. That night, I couldn't eat. I told Jessica I was coming down with something and went to bed early. She rubbed my back and told me to rest, and all I could think was, "Who are you?" The next week, I did something I'm not proud of. I took another day off work, and I watched our house. Jessica's car was in the driveway. I parked down the street where I could see our front door. At 10 in the morning, Marcus's contractor truck pulled into our driveway. He went inside. He didn't come out until 3:30. I sat there for 5.5 hours, watching my brother-in-law's truck in my driveway, and I knew what was happening. But knowing and proving are different things. That night, I set up a small camera in our living room. It's legal in Texas. I'm allowed to record in my own home. I positioned it on a bookshelf where it wouldn't be obvious, angled toward the couch. Then I went to work like normal. I checked the feed from my office every hour. Nothing, just an empty living room. The next day, at 11 in the morning, my phone buzzed. Motion detected. I pulled up the feed. Marcus had let himself in. Jessica was in the frame seconds later, laughing at something he said. She was wearing one of my old college shirts and leggings, her belly prominent. She looked radiant. Marcus pulled her close. She tilted her face up. They kissed. I watched them kiss in my living room, watched Marcus's hand on her belly, watched them move to the couch. And then I muted the audio because I couldn't handle hearing it, but I kept watching because I needed proof. I needed to see it. They talked for a long time after. I turned the audio back on. Worried he's going to figure it out, Marcus was saying. He won't, Jessica said, her voice confident. Ryan trusts me. He trusts everyone. That's his problem. He's too nice. He sees the best in people. But what if he does? What if he asks for a paternity test? By the time he figures anything out, the baby will be born. And once the baby's born, he's already on all the paperwork. He'll be stuck paying anyway. That's the beauty of it. Marcus laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. You're something else, you know that. I'm smart. There's a difference. Ashley never had to know. You get to stay in your perfect little marriage. I get financial security. Ryan gets to think he's being a good brother-in-law. Everyone wins. Except Ryan. Jessica shrugged. Ryan will be fine. He makes good money. He'll barely notice the child support payments, and honestly, he should have paid more attention to what he was signing. That's on him. I had to mute it again. I sat in my office bathroom stall and tried not to throw up. They'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. The affair, the pregnancy, the fake surrogacy. It was all designed to trap me, to use my decency, my trust, my love for family against me. What would you have done if you were me? I spent the rest of that day sitting in my car in the parking garage making a list. Evidence. I needed more evidence. The video was good, but I needed documents. I needed proof of the affair timeline. I needed to confirm that Ashley's IVF timeline didn't match Jessica's pregnancy, and I needed to talk to Ashley. I called her that evening from my car before I went home. Hey, Ryan, she answered. She sounded happy. Is everything okay? Is Jessica okay? Ashley, I need to talk to you in person without Marcus or Jessica there. That's oddly specific. Is something wrong? I can't explain over the phone. Can you meet me tomorrow? Coffee? Please. There was a long pause. You're scaring me. I know, I'm sorry, but I really need to talk to you. We met the next morning at a coffee shop 20 minutes from both our houses. Ashley looked worried when she walked in. She sat down across from me, her hands wrapped around her coffee cup. What's going on? She asked. I pulled out my phone and showed her the medical bill, the one from the clinic. Have you ever heard of this place? She frowned. No. Why? That's where Jessica had a prenatal paternity test done. That doesn't make sense. We used Dr. Williams at the fertility center. That's where all our IVF stuff was done. Can I see your records from the IVF process? She looked confused, but she pulled out her phone and opened her health app. She showed me appointment after appointment with Dr. Williams. The last IVF attempt was 18 months ago. 18 months ago. Jessica was 7 months pregnant. Ashley, I said carefully, when did Jessica offer to be your surrogate? About 9 months ago. She called me out of the blue and said she'd been thinking about it and wanted to do this for us. You didn't ask her? No, I would never have asked. That's such a huge thing to ask of someone. Did you do another round of IVF 9 months ago? Did they create embryos to transfer to Jessica? Ashley's face changed. No, we decided to take a break from trying. It was too hard, too expensive. We were talking about adoption instead. The truth was settling over her like a fog. I could see her working through it, her expression shifting from confusion to doubt to horror. There was no embryo transfer, I said quietly. There was no IVF. Jessica is pregnant, but it's not with your baby. Then who's... Ashley stopped. Her hand went to her mouth. Oh my God, Marcus. I have video, I said, from our house. I'm so sorry to do this to you. Show me. I didn't want to, but she deserved the truth. I pulled up the relevant clips, not the intimate parts, just the conversation after. Just Marcus and Jessica talking about the plan, about me being stuck, about keeping Ashley in the dark. Ashley watched it twice. Then she set my phone down very carefully on the table. Her hands were shaking. "How long?" she whispered. "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. "My sister, my husband, and my..." She couldn't finish the sentence. "Your infertility," I said. "They used your pain as a cover story. That's the part I can't get past. They knew what you'd been through. They knew how much it hurt, and they used it." Ashley sat there crying silently in a coffee shop, and I felt like I was watching her entire world collapse. I knew how she felt. Mine had already collapsed. Now we were both sitting in the rubble. "I have to confront him," she said finally. I have to know. How long? Why? All of it." "Do you want me there?" No, I need to do this alone." She left. I sat there with 2 cups of coffee and no idea what to do next. So I called David Park. "How fast can you file for a prenatal paternity test?" I asked. "If you have evidence of fraud, I can file an emergency petition today, but it requires a court order. It's going to make everything public." "I don't care. File it." 2 days later, Marcus showed up at my office. Security called to say I had a visitor. I told them to send him up. He looked terrible. Unshaven, clothes wrinkled, eyes wild. He closed my office door behind him. "Ashley found the messages," he said. "The photos, everything. She's filing for divorce. She's going to tell everyone." I stood up from my desk. "Good." "Ryan, you have to understand. I'm recording this conversation," I said. I pulled my phone from my pocket and set it on the desk between us. In Texas, you only need one party's consent to record. I was that party. Texas is a one-party consent state, so choose your next words carefully. Marcus stared at the phone, then at me. "You're really going to destroy both our families over this?" "You destroyed them. I'm just making sure everyone knows it. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me the truth, all of it, timeline, how long the affair has been going on, whose idea the fake surrogacy was, everything. And then you're going to testify to all of that in court." "Why would I do that?" "Because if you don't, I'm going to press fraud charges. And in Texas, fraud is a felony. You'll lose your contractor's license. You'll lose everything. So you can either help me prove what happened or you can go down with Jessica. Your choice." He sat down in my guest chair. He looked like he might be sick. 2 years, he said quietly. "The affair has been going on for 2 years." I had to grip the edge of my desk to stay standing. 2 years. Every family dinner, every holiday, every time I'd shaken his hand or called him brother. 2 years. "Whose baby is it?" "Mine. Jessica got pregnant last year. She panicked. She was going to get an abortion. But then she had this idea. What if she could frame it as surrogacy? Ashley had been talking about how she'd given up on having kids. Jessica saw an opportunity. An opportunity to trap me financially. She said you'd sign anything if she asked. She said you never read contracts carefully if they came from family. She said by the time you figured it out, if you ever did, the kid would be born and you'd be legally obligated. She said you made good money and you'd barely notice the child support." The recorder was getting all of it. Every word, every confession. "And you went along with this?" Marcus looked at me. "I didn't want to lose Ashley. I love her. This was just supposed to be a fling. It wasn't supposed to get this complicated." "You love her," I repeated. "Your wife, the woman you've been cheating on for 2 years, the woman whose infertility you used as a cover story to commit fraud." "I know how it sounds." "You don't know how it sounds. You have no idea. Because you're not the one who's been signing documents that would have destroyed your life. You're not the one who's been lied to by the person you trusted most. You're just the coward who couldn't keep it in his pants and was happy to let me pay for it. Marcus stood up. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be ready to testify. My lawyer will be in touch. He left. I sat in my office until everyone else had gone home for the day, and then I sat there some more. I didn't know how to go home, how to face Jessica, how to pretend anything was normal. My lawyer called that evening. The court approved the petition. Your wife has been served. Prenatal DNA test is scheduled for next week. What happens after we have the results? Depends what they show, but if they prove what we think they'll prove. You file for annulment based on fraud. You file for full restitution of any money spent, and you make sure your name stays off that birth certificate. And criminal charges? Also an option. Fraud, forgery, identity theft. There are multiple charges that could apply, but that's your call. The next 7 days were surreal. Jessica moved into her mother's house. She called me crying, begging me to drop the legal action, saying I was destroying the family over paranoia. Her mother called and screamed at me for 20 minutes about abandoning family in a crisis. Ashley called once. The divorce is filed, she said. Her voice was flat. I'm asking for full custody of our son. Marcus can have supervised visitation. I'm sorry. So am I. But Ryan, thank you for telling me, for showing me. I would have spent the rest of my life believing I was the problem. 10 days after the court order, David called me to his office. The DNA results had arrived. I sat across from him as he opened the sealed envelope. His expression didn't change as he read, but he took a long breath before he spoke. The baby is biologically Jessica's and Marcus's. 0 genetic relation to Ashley. 0 genetic relation to you. There was no egg donation. There was no embryo transfer. This was a naturally conceived child from an extramarital affair, and all documentation claiming otherwise is fraudulent. I'd known for weeks, but hearing it confirmed still felt like a punch to the chest. What now? Now we file. Annulment based on fraud, criminal fraud charges, full financial restitution for all expenses incurred, restraining order preventing her from listing your name on the birth certificate. I'll have the papers ready by tomorrow. That night, my parents came over. I showed them everything. The documents, the video, the DNA results, Marcus's recorded confession. My mother cried. My father looked like he wanted to hit something. I'm so sorry, Mom said. I thought she was... We all thought... I know. What do you need? What can we do? Just be there when this goes public, because it's going to get ugly. 2 days later, Jessica's lawyer filed a counter motion. She claimed I was a controlling husband, making false accusations to avoid my responsibilities. She claimed the DNA test was falsified. She claimed I'd forced her to have the affair because I was emotionally absent. The hearing was set for 3 weeks later. Baby was due in 4. My family showed up to support me. Ashley came too. We sat on one side of the small courtroom. Jessica and her mother sat on the other. Marcus was being called as a witness. He'd been granted immunity in exchange for his testimony. Jessica's lawyer went first. He painted me as paranoid, controlling, a man who couldn't handle his wife doing something selfless, so he'd constructed an elaborate conspiracy theory to escape responsibility. Then my lawyer stood up. He presented the timeline, the fake clinic documents, the financial trail showing $80,000 already spent on medical expenses that didn't exist in real surrogacy. The original documents I'd signed compared side by side with actual surrogacy contracts. Then he played the video. The courtroom went silent. You could hear Jessica on camera, clear as day. By the time he figures anything out, the baby will be born. He'll be stuck paying anyway. That's the beauty of it. Jessica's face went white. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear. Then came the testimonies. I went first. I walked the judge through everything. How I'd been told this was a standard surrogacy. How I'd signed under pressure without really reading. How I'd only found out the truth when I received a medical bill that didn't make sense. How I'd discovered the affair, the financial damage. Mr. Mitchell, the judge said, you signed these documents. Why should the court believe you didn't know what you were signing? Because I trusted my wife, Your Honor. I trusted that when she said this was surrogacy, it was surrogacy. I trusted that she wouldn't use legal documents to trap me. That trust was my mistake, but it was an honest mistake. Then Jessica took the stand. Her lawyer tried to keep her on script, but my lawyer's cross-examination was brutal. Ms. Mitchell, did you create false medical documents? They were just templates from online. Yes or no? Did you create false documents? Yes, but I didn't mean... Did you tell your husband this baby was his biological child? No. Did you tell him the father was Marcus Chen? Silence. Did you know that the paperwork you had him sign would make him legally and financially responsible for a child that was not his? Jessica's eyes filled with tears. I didn't think that far ahead. Really? Because we have video evidence of you explicitly discussing trapping him financially. Would you like me to play it again? Jessica broke down on the stand. I made a mistake. The affair was wrong. I panicked when I got pregnant. I thought I could fix it. I thought if I could make it work as surrogacy, nobody would get hurt. Except your husband, who would have paid for 18 years for another man's child? I was going to tell him eventually. When? After the birth? After he'd paid tens of thousands more? After he was legally trapped? She didn't answer. Marcus testified next. He looked miserable, but he told the truth. He confirmed the affair had lasted 2 years. He confirmed the baby was his. He confirmed that Jessica had explicitly told him the plan was to divorce me after the birth and split costs between my payments and his. Did you believe Mr. Mitchell would be free of financial obligation? No, Jessica said that was the whole point, that he'd sign papers making him responsible, so even after the divorce, he'd have to pay. The courtroom was completely silent. Then Ashley took the stand. This was the part I'd been dreading. She looked small up there, fragile. My lawyer was gentle with her. Ms. Chen, can you walk us through your fertility journey? She did. 2 years of trying. 3 IVF attempts. The emotional toll. The financial cost. The decision to finally stop because it was destroying her mental health. When did your sister offer to be your surrogate? 9 months ago. I was grateful. I thought she was giving me a miracle. Did you undergo IVF procedures to create embryos for transfer at that time? No. We'd stopped trying 18 months before that. So there was no embryo, no egg donation, no transfer. No. Ashley's voice broke. My sister used the worst pain of my life, the thing that made me feel broken and worthless, as a cover story. She knew what infertility did to me. She watched me cry, and she used it. She turned my suffering into her alibi. The judge leaned forward. Ms. Chen, did you ask your sister to do this? No, Your Honor. She offered. She pushed it, actually. At the time, I thought she was being incredibly generous. Now I know she was just trying to hide an affair, baby. When all the testimony was done, the judge took a 15-minute recess. When she came back, her face was stone. This court has heard many difficult cases, she said, but the calculated nature of what occurred here is extraordinary. Ms. Mitchell, you weaponized your sister's infertility. You weaponized your husband's trust. You weaponized the legal system itself. You created false documents. You lied to medical professionals. You committed fraud on a massive scale, all to avoid responsibility for your own choices and to trap an innocent man into paying for them. Jessica was crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You're sorry you got caught. The evidence shows you planned this carefully. You knew exactly what you were doing. The judge ruled. Marriage annulled based on fraud. Jessica ordered to repay me $80,000 in fraudulent medical expenses. Jessica barred from putting my name on the birth certificate, restraining order preventing her from contacting me or making any claim that I have parental obligations. Full marital assets awarded to me as restitution, and the criminal fraud case would proceed separately. Ms. Mitchell, the judge said, her voice cold, you thought you could manipulate the law. You're about to learn what happens when the law takes you seriously. There will be consequences. Jessica's mother helped her from the courtroom. Ashley left quietly. Marcus looked shell-shocked. I sat there feeling nothing, just numb. I'd won, legally, financially, completely. So why did it feel so hollow? The next few months were chaos. Jessica's story leaked. Whether she told people or someone else did, I don't know. But suddenly everyone knew. The church community, the neighborhood, her real estate firm suspended her license pending ethics investigation. Marcus lost 3 major contracts when word spread. Jessica pleaded guilty to fraud in the criminal case. She avoided jail time but got 3 years probation and court-ordered restitution payments. She moved 2 hours away to her mother's town. The baby was born in December. A girl, healthy. Marcus's name is on the birth certificate. I don't know anything else. I don't want to. Ashley filed for divorce. She got full custody of their son. Last I heard, she's thinking about moving to another city. Fresh start. I don't blame her. I've thought about it too. 3 months after the court ruling, I sold our house. Too many memories, too many dinners around that table where I was being played for a fool. I bought a condo downtown, smaller, newer, no history. I started therapy. Turns out there's a specific kind of trauma that comes from realizing the person you trusted most was systematically destroying your life while you thanked her for being selfless. My therapist says I have trust issues now. I told her that seems reasonable. Ashley stopped by once, about 4 months after everything. She came to return a book she'd borrowed from me years ago. We stood in my new living room and made awkward small talk. The divorce is finalized, she said. I have custody. He gets supervised visitation twice a month. How are you doing? Some days I'm okay, some days I'm not. Therapy helps. My students help. Kids don't care about adult drama, you know. Yeah. I'm sorry, she said suddenly. I'm sorry I brought them into your life. You didn't know. Neither did you. We were both trusting the wrong people. She left after that. We'll probably never speak again. There's too much shared pain. Every time we look at each other, we see the worst day of our lives reflected back. 6 months later, I was doing okay. Not great, but okay. I'd thrown myself into work, got a promotion, started hanging out with friends again, the ones who'd stuck by me when everything fell apart. Went on a few dates, nothing serious. I'm not sure I'm capable of serious right now. One night I was unpacking the last box from the move and I found them. The fake surrogacy contracts, the ones I'd signed without reading, the ones that almost destroyed my life. I took them to the kitchen, lit them on fire in the sink, watched them burn. It felt good, final. My parents visit regularly. They're proud of how I handled things, they say. You protected yourself. You stood up for yourself. That takes strength. Maybe. Or maybe it just took finally being pushed far enough that I had no choice. I helped a friend review his prenup documents last month. He thanked me for catching things his lawyer missed. I told him it's easy to see the traps in someone else's life. It's your own that blinds you. I wrote about this experience on Reddit once, anonymous post. It went viral. Thousands of comments. Half the people said I did the right thing. The other half said I was heartless for exposing Ashley's marriage too, for putting her through that pain. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should have found a way to handle it that didn't blow up her entire life alongside mine. But I don't think that was possible. The truth was always going to hurt everyone. The only question was whether it would hurt us while we were still trapped in their lies, or after we'd broken free. I chose freedom. 8 months after the court hearing, I'm sitting in my condo on a Friday night. The city lights are spread out below me. My phone buzzes. A friend asking if I want to grab dinner. I look at the message. Then I look at those lights, and for the first time in almost a year, I smile. Not a big smile, just a small, real one. The first genuine smile I've had since that family dinner 8 months ago. I text back, yeah, give me 20 minutes. I grab my jacket, lock the door behind me, walk toward the elevator, and maybe it's not happiness, not yet, but it's something. It's the absence of fear, the absence of lies. The space where trust used to be has been replaced by something harder, sharper, but more reliable, certainty. I know what I signed. I know what I'm worth. I know my boundaries. They tried to trap me with a lie disguised as love. I chose truth, even when it hurt, even when it destroyed not just my marriage, but my sister-in-law's marriage too, even when it made me look like the villain to people who didn't know the full story. Because the alternative was spending the next 18 years paying for another man's child while they laughed at how easy I was to fool. People ask me sometimes if I regret taking it to court, if maybe I should have just let it go, kept the peace, avoided the drama, and I tell them no, because justice isn't always clean. Truth isn't always satisfying, but both are worth fighting for, even when it costs you everything, especially then. If you're ever in my position, if someone you trust is asking you to sign something that doesn't feel right, if your gut is screaming that the numbers don't add up, if you're being rushed or guilted or told, just trust me, remember this, your gut knows. Trust it. Read every page. Ask every question. Hire your own lawyer. Protect yourself. Because the people who truly love you won't ask you to sign your life away on blind faith. And the people who do, they've already shown you who they are. Believe them.